Nathan, can you let everyone in from the lobby?
Waiting. Everyone's in now.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the Whitestown Town Council. Chair sees a quorum and calls this meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Will you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Now we'll have a roll call of members.
Councilman Nichols.
Present.
Councilman Miller.
Present.
Councilman Baum.
Howdy.
Councilwoman Austin.
Present.
Councilman Wishick.
Absent. Thank you very much. That gives us our quorum. I'd like to start off by welcoming Eric Nichols to the Town Council. He was recently appointed through caucus and will now be filling out the remainder of Rob Worrell's term. As I said last month, we wish Rob well, trading in snow for sand and heading to South Carolina. But I'm very excited to have Eric here. He's been on the Police Commission for several years, has made a very positive impact in that department. So Eric, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Next, we'll move on to the agenda. Are there any additions that need to be made to the agenda at this time? Hearing none, will the council on the agenda?
Mr. President, I make a motion we accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and seconds and further discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's adopted. Seeing no presentations, we'll move on to the Clerk Treasury report. Any questions on the Town Management report or the water and sewer reports? Hearing none. For department reports, Todd, I'd like you to come forward. We're going to get an update on the update to our comprehensive plan that the Plan Commission heard earlier this week.
Yes, good evening, Council. Todd Barker, Director of Development Services. Just wanted to give you a brief update. Plan Commission did hear the review the comprehensive plan on Monday night. They did vote to send a favorable recommendation, so that will be coming to you in August at the August 10th meeting. There were just a couple corrections that need to be made actually as a part of that we'll be getting our consultant HWC to get those completed before here too long, and we'll get you a copy of that updated draft for your review. So I just wanted to give everybody that update and let you know that was coming.
All right, thank you so much, and thank you to you, your department, and the steering committee on that. I know it's a massive process. We experienced that myself on the non-council side back in September of 2015, and then of course several members of this body during 2015 adopting the last update. So then we said it was a living document that needed to be reviewed and updated, and since then we've had annexations and market changes, and so I'm very glad that we're undertaking this and keeping to our word, so thank you.
All right, thanks.
Any other questions on department reports? Seeing none, we'll move to public requests to speak. Mr. Clerk Treasurer, do we have any in-person requests to speak?
No.
All right. On non-agenda or agenda?
No, none.
All right. Thank you, sir. Nathan, anyone in the lobby that wants to speak on non-agenda items?
No online requests for agenda or non-agenda items.
All right. Thank you so much, and let me know if anyone reaches out. Next, we move on to the approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. President, I make a motion we approve the consent agenda, which includes the approval of meeting minutes from June 8th, 2022, the claims, B claims, June 2022 expenses town, June 2022 revenues town, June utility claims, which also includes utility operating. C, consider expenditure exceeding $5,000, not to exceed $43,160, the modification for the MS consultant's contract for water main relocation. D, consider expenditure exceeding $5,000, not to exceed $21,000, inspection services at the Main Street signal and turn lane improvements. E, consider expenditure exceeding $5,000, not to exceed $83,000, acceptance and approval of a parent low bid for Whitestown Parkway medium. F, consider expenditure exceeding $5,000, not to exceed $318,000, the change order number 1 for the Main Street roundabout water main relocation. G, consider expenditure exceeding $5,000 not to exceed $33,500, the traffic calming study and legacy core of Whitestown. H, consider expenditure exceeding $5,000 not to exceed $13,000, Perry Worth Station rehabilitation. I, consider expenditure exceeding $5,000 not to exceed $26,136, the Axion in-car video for the police department. J, consider expenditure exceeding $5,000 not to exceed $6,806, the Lexipol annual law enforcement manual for the police department. K, consider utility agreement with Braun Property Development LLC for the Jackson Run North Section 1. L, consider repaving cost-sharing agreement with Boone County Highway Department. M, consider approval of MOU with CERTA for operation of shuttle connector system. N, consider approval for resolution authorizing signatories for trail property closing, resolution 2022-13. O, consider adoption of resolution for Hockett piece of trail purchase. P, board appointments. And Q, approval of CF1 forms.
All right, I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, thank you very much for that. I just want to say thank you to Danny and DPW. There are several items in here that are very important to traffic flow and safety, so I appreciate seeing these things come on here, both in the studies and in the work that's being executed from things that we had on prior agendas. And also to note, with the board appointments, we are appointing Eric to multiple boards to take the place of Rob, and then I will be resuming duties as president of the fire board moving forward, as those were all Rob's responsibilities, and now we are right-sizing that. With that, is there further discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's adopted.
Thank you. The residents in Legacy Corps will be very excited to see the results of the traffic calming study.
As am I. Next, move on to unfinished business, and with that, I will open a public hearing on water rates at 7:07 p.m. Is there anyone that wishes to come forward and speak on ordinance 2022-22 concerning the reduction of water rates due to the repeal of the utility receipts tax?
Make a motion, we close the public hearing.
I've got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second for the discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's adopted. Public hearing is closed at 7:08 p.m. Next, we move on to item B, to consider adoption of ordinance regarding water rate reduction due to repeal of utility receipts tax, ordinance 2022-22. Ordinance 2022-22, an ordinance reducing the monthly use charges for the use of and services rendered by the Whitestown Waterworks system to reflect repeal of the utility receipts tax and updating meter sizes and private fire sprinkler line connection charges. I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2022-22.
Second.
I've got a motion and seconds for discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's adopted. And that brings us to the end of our unfinished business agenda. Now we'll move on to new business. And I will open a public hearing on the additional appropriation at 7:08 p.m. Is there anyone that wishes to speak on the additional appropriation? Nathan?
No one online.
All right. I would offer a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Got a motion and a second for the discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's adopted. Public hearing is closed. Next, move on to item B, to consider approval of the additional appropriation ordinance in the fire fund, ordinance 2022-08. Additional appropriation ordinance, ordinance 2022-08. Whereas it has been determined that it is now necessary to appropriate more money than was appropriated in the annual budget, now therefore, Section 1, be it resolved by the Council of Whitestown Civil Town, Boone County, that for the expenses for the taxing unit, the following additional sums of money are hereby appropriated out of the funds named and for the purposes specified, subject to the laws governing the same. Fire, capital outlays, $250,000. Total for the fire fund, $250,000. Chief?
Good evening.
If you could, real quick, just let us know what we're doing here.
Okay, so this is kind of fixing a couple things. This was money appropriated in 2020 that moved into 2021's budget. It was erroneously mistaken on the encumbrances, and this actually came before council earlier this year, but due to lack of advertisement, it didn't fit the bill to be appropriated correctly. So here we are again, hopefully to finish it up.
And as with before, this is funding from prior budgets. We're just reappropriating money that we already had to make sure that we can accomplish this, correct?
Correct.
All right. And so you're wanting this to be appropriated, to be adopted tonight, if possible, correct?
Correct.
Mr. President, I make a motion, we suspend the rules and have the second reading this
Second.
evening.
Motion and second, further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's adopted. Rules are suspended. Additional appropriation ordinance number 2022-08. With that second read, I'd offer a motion to adopt ordinance 2022-08.
Second.
Motion second, further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion's adopted. Thank you all. Thank you, Chief. Next, I will open another public hearing at 7:11 for the Green Park ERA. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on resolution number 2022-17 concerning the Green Park ERA enlargement? Anyone online?
We got it. But no one online, but
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, Larry Sigler with Peterson. I'll be real quick here. There was the Green Park ERA is several hundred acres. There was a holdout landowner of about 4 acres. We kind of bypassed them and developed around them, or had a plan around them. We've now been able to reach agreement with them. We've actually bought their property. We've gone through the zoning, and now we're coming back to add them to the ERA for the incentives.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
In our packets, on Exhibit B, you'll see it's this very small little rectangle that's already surrounded by a majority of the project, as we've talked about multiple times. Thank you. All right. Will anyone else to speak? Hearing none, I offer a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion is second. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is adopted. Public hearing is closed at 7:12 p.m. All right, that brings us on to item D, to consider adoption of confirmatory resolution further enlarging Green Park ERA Resolution 2022-17. Resolution number 2022-17, a confirmatory resolution of the town of Whitestown, Indiana for the further enlargement of the Green Park Economic Revitalization Area and approving an application for real property tax abatement, Park 130 Partners 2, LLC. I'd make a motion to adopt resolution number 2022-17.
Second.
Motion is second. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's adopted. Next, we're going to move on to consider adoption of salary ordinance amendment, ordinance 2022-24. Ordinance 2022-24, an ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Whitestown, Indiana, amending ordinance 2021-32, the 2022 salary ordinance. With that, I'll make a motion to suspend the rules to have adoption this evening.
Second.
Motion is second. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is adopted. Rules are suspended. Ordinance 2022-24, an ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Whitestown, Indiana, amending ordinance 2021-32, the 2022 salary ordinance. I make a motion to adopt ordinance 2022-24.
Second.
Motion is second. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is adopted. Next, we'll move on to item F. This is the first read only of the redistricting ordinance 2022-27. I will read ordinance 2022-27, an ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Whitestown, Indiana, concerning redistricting of the Town Council districts. Mr. Unger, joining us from Louisville. If you would please, give us a little bit of information about why we're here and how we got here.
Yes, Mr. President. Let me, as you all will recall, in 2020, there was a federal decennial census, and under Indiana law and the U.S. Constitution, we are therefore required to redistrict our legislative district, our council districts, in 2022. So we're required to do this by statute this year, and also required under U.S. Supreme Court precedent, under the Constitution, to do it to ensure roughly equal population and like one person, one vote. And just a reminder, this does not change school districts. What it impacts, which sometimes we get asked about, but what this does impact is where council members at the next election cycle, from which district they have to reside in. It does not impact council members' current districts where they currently reside or their ability to continue after we adopted this, representing the district in which they currently reside. But it is something that we are required to do after every census, federal census. We also did it, you may recall, we did a special census back in 2016, I believe, and redistricted to right size our boundaries, our council districts after that. Under Supreme Court precedent, there's what's called ideal population, which would be our total population divided by 5 districts is ideal population. And you cannot have a deviation, which is a measurement of the population deviation above the greatest and below by the greatest amount. Added together creates what the Supreme Court has said is your population deviation for these districts. And essentially, the Supreme Court has said there's a 10% standard. If the deviation is greater than 10%, it is what's called prima facie unconstitutional, meaning there's a high burden to avoid a determination that your districts are unconstitutional if that deviation is greater than 10%. Less than 10% doesn't mean it's constitutional, but there can still be disparate impact in drawing districts that are less than 10%. But generally, there's a presumption that they are constitutional. The current districts under the most recent census has a deviation of 55%, a total deviation of 55%, which means we are required to draw new districts this year. There are factors also under Indiana law and statute that control how we can draw these districts. For example, they have to be reasonably compact. They have to be contiguous, meaning the districts, all of the territory within the districts must be connected with the other territory within the district unless you have non-contiguous property, which we do not. They have to be contiguous. You cannot cross, a district cannot cross what's called a census block boundary. And the census blocks are actually drawn by the U.S. Census Bureau. It's a computer program that draws those prior to the census. We, the town, do not have control over that. That is not even the county doesn't have control. It's not a political process. Many years ago, it used to be at the federal level, but it is not anymore. And that's basically the smallest block at which the Census Bureau determines population. And so we can't cross those lines, which makes sense because you really don't know when you cross one of those lines what your actual population is within the district. There is also restrictions in the statute on crossing a precinct boundary. However, you can cross a precinct boundary if needed to achieve roughly equal population. And if you ever were to look at the town's boundaries compared to the precincts, we really couldn't draw a council district without crossing precinct lines. So precinct lines are not as controlling, but census blocks are. Again, they have to be contiguous, have to be reasonably compact, and most importantly, they must contain, as nearly as possible, equal population. The maps that are proposed here were drawn with the assistance of the town's engineers at MS Consultants, and they have a total deviation of, again, from the high and the low added together of 2.11%, which I think you would be hard pressed to really draw boundaries that have a deviation that is less than that. So as the president indicated, in the agenda proposes, these are first read only tonight. I think the intent would be to allow still time for public review and comment. These have been available online for, I think, a couple of weeks at least now, and so there's an opportunity to comment on the town's website. There's some frequently asked questions, information available. But the intent would be to try to adopt these before the end of October.
Thank you very much, Steve. Appreciate that. It's been a long process to get here, as individuals may know. The census was very much impacted by the COVID pandemic. And so even after getting through the survey taking that the census did to do their count, it was extended, it took longer, and then it took longer to count and get that information back. As a point of reference, normally in 2021, we would have seen the population figures released at a level that we could have worked with. That didn't happen until late in 2021. The legislature didn't adopt their districts until September. Things that they normally do in April were put off until the end of September. And so sitting here in July, as Steve referenced, the maps have been up on our website for a couple of weeks now. We've got some frequently asked questions there. We've got a form that that residents can fill out that will be submitted and sent to all council members so that everyone is aware of what we're hearing from the town perspective. I have committed, both through the frequently asked questions and in any conversation I've had, that these are to be presented tonight and left open until October's meeting to be adopted, so that we can get feedback and comment, and we can make adjustments that could be necessary. But as Steve pointed out, we are now down to a total deviation of 2.1%. We have one district that deviates about 1.09%, and another district that deviates about 1.02%. So that's how we got to that total deviation. Is one of them is 1% one way, one of them is 1% the other way. So very much close to our total population, a target population of the 2,041 residents per district based on our census population. Seeing no further comment on that item, we'll move on to item G, the consider adoption of declaratory resolution approving the EWIS Drive Systems Tax Abatement Resolution 2022-14. Nathan, if I remember correctly, you said that we have Molly from the Boone EDC and someone from EWIS available?
Yes, I'm not sure on the EWIS. I know Molly is here. I've just asked her to unmute.
She is.
Is it?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Hello, Molly. Thanks for joining us.
Perfect. Hi, Molly Whitehead, Executive Director of the Boone EDC. What you have before you is consideration of an abatement request from EWIS Drive Systems. EWIS is a German headquartered company. They are currently located in north side of Indianapolis. And what they're looking at doing is a relocation from their Indianapolis facility to construct a new facility. Address is 3581 South 450 East. And they anticipate about a $12.1 million real property investment, about $3 million in personal property that would be new to the state of Indiana. There are anticipated 72 new jobs. Wages are more than $37 an hour, so these are fantastic positions that we're excited to have in the community. Of the 72, it is important to note that for our purposes, we consider this new to Whitestown, since it's not an existing Whitestown company. Of that 72, a majority of them will be moving from the Indianapolis location, but there is some new job growth attached to that. What we are recommending for your consideration is a 10-year traditional property tax abatement estimated to save about $1.3 million to the company, an 8-year personal property non-traditional expected to save about $160,000, and we anticipate more than $1.4 million in property tax levy, about $200,000 in local income taxes that could be created as a result of this. I'd be happy to answer any technical questions that you all may have, but as Nathan mentioned, we do have a couple of representatives of the company on the line as well that if you'd like to hear from them, they'd be more than happy to say hello.
All right, thank you so much, Molly, for that information and update. Questions from the council for Molly? All right, hearing none. Nathan, would you like to get the EWIS representatives on the line?
Yeah, do you know who all's on here from them, Molly? Oh, you remuted yourself, sorry.
Thank you. I'm actually going to bump this one first to Patrick from, Patrick, I'm losing memory here on your company name, but Patrick act as the consultant for EWIS. I'll defer to him.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm in my car, so I'm thankful you can hear me. We just want to express our gratitude for this because this was a big component in the site selection decision-making process through our work with US on determining where their next step should be in this company's growth for the future. This is a long-term investment, and I'm going to let Pierce Dahl, who actually works for US, speak a little bit more about it, but we just appreciate your consideration.
Hi, yes, Pierce Dahl with EVIS Drive Systems. Just really thankful for the opportunity for you all to consider our project of moving to Whitestown. As Molly said, German-based company, currently located in Indianapolis. Our main reason for looking to move is expansion and growth within our company, and we think that Whitestown would be the perfect place to really set new roots down and continue to grow our operation. If you guys have any specific questions, please let me know.
All right, thank you, everyone. Questions from the council for the EWIS representatives? All right, now Nathan, due to a scheduling snafu, these have not gone before the RDC yet, is that correct?
Correct, we have RDC on the 18th.
Okay.
So I would make a motion that the council approve and pass the resolution number 2022-14 pending the approval of the RDC.
Okay.
Second.
I've got a motion, a second. Is there further discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's adopted. We will see you at the RDC. Thank you for joining us this evening. Next, we'll move on to item H, consider adoption of declaratory resolution approving Weaver popcorn tax abatement, resolution 2022-15. Resolution 2022-15, a resolution of the town of Whitestown, Indiana, declaring an economic revitalization area for personal property tax abatement, Weaver Popcorn Manufacturing Incorporated. Molly, I think we're going to hear from you again on this one.
You are.
I'm sorry, can I interrupt for a minute? Sorry to interrupt, Mr. President. On both of these are the declaratory resolutions. Let's recall that tax abatement is a three-step process. There's a declaratory resolution. We will come back next month, even after the RDC meeting, and we will hold a public hearing on both of these. And then we would adopt a confirmatory resolution. So what I would ask that you do is reconsider adoption of item G, new business G, and go ahead and approve it. And then we can still not approve the abatement later on if there is an issue at the redevelopment commission level. But I think that would be a cleaner way to allow this to proceed at this point.
Do I have consent of the council to go back to item G to reconsider?
So moved.
All right.
Second.
All right, having consent, we'll go back. Councilwoman Austin, would you like to offer a different motion?
Oh my God, how do I?
Just normal.
I would just move to adopt it.
We'll adopt it. I make a motion, we adopt it.
I've got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's adopted.
I should have technically said everything he just said.
Now we'll move on to item H. As I have already read that, I will now give it to Molly to give us an introduction to the Weaver Popcorn Manufacturing Incorporated project.
All right, thank you. So what you all have in front of you, this is a slight bit different from EWIS. And first step is that we do need to get an ERA, Economic Revitalization Area, reestablished in that area. That particular ERA expired back in 2020. And so the resolution you have in front of you indicates it's not only, again, confirming the ERA or establishing the ERA, whatever that language reads, in addition to considering the property tax request. So, Weaver Popcorn Manufacturing, they've been in Whitestown since 2014. They are considering an expansion, personal property only. Their existing building is 220,000 square feet. So again, they will not be adding on to this facility, but more creating efficiencies inside and bringing in new lines into Whitestown for popcorn manufacturing. They are currently employ a total of 538 people. Average wages are more than $22 per hour. That does include headquarters positions as well. They offer a pretty generous benefits package, and their investment for personal property is an estimated $25 million. There are no jobs attached to this. Now, one thing I'll just throw out for your consideration, this is something we're starting to see more and more often. We know that there are millions more jobs available than people at this particular juncture, and so it's really not unusual for us to see companies that are considering or have already made a significant capital investment, improving their process, upgrading their equipment, bringing in robots in some instances, and not hiring a bunch of new people, but instead repurposing, reskilling or skilling up their existing workforce. So again, no jobs attached to this. We are still recommending you consider a personal property tax abatement, 4 years at a 25% step down, 100% year one, going down from there. About $460,000 value to the company, and about a $660,000 benefit is anticipated back to the community. This one also has not gone before the Redevelopment Commission, and also due to the fact that it's that particular TIF district, that also is where the county has a TIF district too. So after we get Whitestown approval, as we have done with previous projects, we'll also need to take this one through Boone RDC and Boone County Commissioners.
All right, thank you, Molly. Is there anyone from Weaver Popcorn available to speak?
Chuck Williamson, Director of Manufacturing for Ready to Eat operations for Weaver, which just means the stuff you open up in a bag and pull out and eat right away, right? I'm here to just say thank you for the consideration, and we just appreciate being a partner and a member of this community for sure, and then answer any questions you might have specifically about, I'll do my best, about the project we're talking about.
Thank you very much for being here this evening. Any questions from council on the project?
Thanks for coming, and we're excited about the project.
Yeah,
Very much.
well, thank you.
Thank you so much. With that, since this is one step of a three-step process, I would offer a motion to adopt resolution number 2022-15.
Second.
Motion second for the discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's adopted. That brings us to the end of our new business agenda. I have no other business on our agenda for this evening. Is there any further business to come before the council? Yes, thank you for that. It is that time for us to start thinking about budgets and planning for 2023 budgets. And so if everyone could let me know, and we are looking at more of a late August meeting to give us some time to get into it. Crone has been working with Jason, and he'll be working with department heads to get budgets together.
You know, Nathan and I.
Mm-hmm. So I know our next council meeting is going to be the 10th, so we can either do the week of the 15th or the week of the 22nd. Any preference?
I'm gone the week of the 22nd.
Well, obviously, we're not going to do that week then. So be looking for an email from myself or from Jason or Carly to try and get some dates. Let's try and target something on that week, the 15th. Again, it'll be the same process we've had before. We will have the tables up here with department heads at the table, and they will talk to us about their budget. And the only things, unless there are emergencies, and Steve, there better not be emergencies, unless there are emergencies that need to be considered, we will only be considering the budget presentation of department heads. All right? That sounds great. Any further business to come before the council this evening? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion second for discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed nay. Motion's adopted, we are adjourned. Thank you everyone for coming and joining us tonight. Have a great evening.